Yes, time's up. We're starting, we're kicking off. And welcome all to this open webinar hosted by Cardlay and Eurocard. I want to emphasize here that we cannot send you guys a recording because you haven't registered to this webinar. So if you want to be reminded of this webinar and get the recording, YouTube with video of this webinar, you can, in the chat box down below, you can write your email address or you can later contact us. There will be contact details. But just a reminder, we don't have your contact details. We don't know who you are. Yes, so Karsten, maybe a few words about you.
Yeah, I am the VAT EU expert. I think that's the best explanation I can give, but also, of course, I have a lot of insight in ERP, so all the integration to the ERP is some of my specialties as well. But I'm from Cardlay, and we are the company that has developed the solution that we will in the end just introduce to you. So I will help Tove in discussing these interesting topics today. And hopefully answer the questions, some of the questions Tove will ask me.
Yes, and my name is Tove Siakkus. I'm from Finland, Helsinki. Karsten from Denmark, as maybe somebody figured out there. Sunny Helsinki, been with the SEB for over 3 years now, and SEB is the bank which is the issuer of Eurocard. We are not here to talk about Eurocard. We are not here to talk about a solution at all. We are here to talk about some issues that you might be facing. Straight off the bat here, I want to say you guys are the experts of your own company's finances. We are not pretending to know this better than you guys. We have just, we wanted to bring you some points that we have heard from our customers that they have told us. So we wanted to share that. So we wanted to help you take back control and improve cash flow. And let's see if I can actually control now Karsten's computer. This is cool. I'm just trying it there. So what is regaining control? You can't control what you don't know. That's the basic thing. You can't improve anything that you don't know. So it's all about knowing how much money do you have and how much money do you owe, and when have you money coming in and when do you need to pay out money, when do you have money coming out. It's like your personal finances. You know how much you have in investments in your bank account, and you should know how much you owe, and you know when you get money and when you have money going out. These are the key things about managing finances. And yes, a lot more than that, but we will be focusing on these things. So first off, Karsten is going to throw up a poll here, and hopefully you can answer this one. So how well do you feel that you are in control? And now Karsten jumped over the poll. Let's try. Yes.
So please respond to this
questions. How much do you feel in control, and not of your life and not of your kids or anything like that, but your company's finances? I know sometimes I don't feel in control of my children, so let's leave those out of this.
And we have almost half have voted now, so please keep them coming. Yeah,
keep clicking there.
Just the
this is not scientific. We just want to get a feel of your own feeling. How do you? So if you're all in control here, then it was a good video. Can you watch the results?
I think we got 60% to vote here, and everybody picked some of the fairly well or very well. That's very good. Yeah,
that's very good. That's very good. And it's nice that this shows like this. So good. So yes. So going into this area, so we do know actually how much money fairly well what we have. We know the bank statements. We know how much money is tied up in assets. We know how much money is tied up in in things that we have. If you're talking about personal life, you know what you have in your bank account, you know your stock ownerships and so forth. This is quite normal that we know this. This is taking always a bit of time for me to get this moving. We also do know fairly well when we have money coming in, because you as a business, you're selling goods, you're selling services, you are invoicing, you're keeping extremely well track on when you have due dates, and then you are chasing that money, and you know that, okay, who is owing you what. Don't you agree, Carsten, on this one?
Yes, this is normal business, and this is where our focus is. And you even follow up if you have sent out an invoice. You have a business process in place, so you very you know when the money comes in. That's something it's typically very controlled.
Yes. But then the question is, how much do we actually owe? And this is where it becomes a bit blurry. Companies know quite well if they owe the bank something, if they owe their suppliers money. That's also very well reported in the books, and there is good control there. But here where it becomes tricky. If you have people working for you who have expenses which belong to your company, how well do you know those? And if you have 5 people working for you and 5 people generating expenses, say 500 euros each a month. Now let's do the math there. That's a lot of money. Suddenly it becomes like, oh, so I need to pay this out if they are using their own cards, or if they are using company cards where they themselves pay the invoice.
And I do know a few salespeople that could be 2, 3, 4, 5 months late with their expense report. So it could sum up when you go a long time without sending in your expenses to the company.
Yes, even I've heard of people who have waited even a year to report those. And now this is affecting a lot of things. So we don't know actually. The difficulty if you don't have company cards, or if you have a company card but the customer, the user is actually paying for the bill themselves, and then they get the money, they claim the money, and you have no system. You don't know how much actually you need to be reserving in your cash to be able to pay these guys. If you have company cards that you yourself pay, so it's invoiced to the company, which is fairly often in our smaller segments, small business segments, you actually know how much you owe, but you don't know when you can process these costs. So that's the next question. When is the money going out, or when can you actually process this? So let's say somebody's been in January, made a huge trip when we still were able to fly places. It was a massive trip to the States. He had hotel taxes and so forth, and had like 10,000 euros waiting there. But he isn't reporting them. So you don't know when do you have to release 10,000 euros to this guy who has went to the US. So this becomes an issue, because then there's this line in the bookkeeping says short-term debt. That's a question mark. You don't know, and that is unfortunate.
And it could get worse. Some companies, they need to reimburse these money to their customers sometimes. So if they're late, it will get more difficult to get the invoice to the customers covering these expenses. Even the VAT accounting is affected. How much can you deduct? You don't know, because you don't know the exact expenses. So it gets complicated when it's late. It's at least more complicated than necessary.
Exactly. And come the end of the year, when you want to do closing your books, then how many of you guys want to spend Christmas holidays chasing expenses and to be able to close your books and that, especially for the VAT reclaim, when you like now I'm talking domestic VAT, which is still happening now. That's you need to know how much you can actually deduct VAT. Yeah. So yes, so these are the things, and I think that you as a business owners and finance people are very aware of this. That this you really like to have control of these things, because especially if you have a heavily invested in exports, and that you might have some serious monies tied up in this. So you need to you want to have control of this, I would say. Oopsie, sorry, I jumped ahead. So what? Some of you say, so what? We've already pointed out a few things here. So somebody pays you. This is indicating in that timeline here. So you, Marie goes out on a business trip and travels all around the country, and she stays at hotels and she uses taxi and she pays out. And time goes by, and then she makes a report. Maybe it's 3 months, 10 days, 6 months. Then you have to pay out. So in this time, you are completely, not completely, but you are unaware of this short-term debt. And what does this actually mean? In like real, actual, what does this mean? Are you missing out? This is the question we are asking. So let's say you're a small business and a smaller business, that you have a fantastic business idea, but you need investors, right? I'm actually quite keen in investing in businesses that are not publicly listed, because I'm hoping for that big, massive, the next Spotify or something. But these investors, before they decide, they go and through the books really meticulously to see how well do you manage your finances, how well in control you are. So they might not be so keen if you can't display every cent and know exactly when money is coming in and money is going out. Also banks, I work for one, we're very keen on understanding our companies, our customers' finances. And we want to know, the banks want to know exactly what's happening. What are these short-term debts compared to the long-term debts, and do you have it all controlled? And then I think, Karsta, you have a few words about this other picture that we are all waiting for.
Yeah, well, as we all know, nobody is traveling much these days, but in normal situations, we do have a lot of business travel. And in Europe, there is a lot of travel going on between the European countries. And you might know, and you might not know, but if you are traveling business-wise to another EU country, all the direct spending in the country, the VAT is deductible. So you can get the return of the hotel VAT, the car rental VAT, the restaurant VAT, the taxi VAT, but you might also know that it is not easy to get that money back. You have to reclaim it country by country, quarter by quarter, and you have to fill out a very, very special reclaim form with lots of details. But it is money that is rightfully yours, and it's about 15 to maybe even 25% of the direct costs you have on your travel in these countries. And these, we know for a fact that 80% of the small and medium-sized companies, they just leave these money behind. They don't do anything. It's too much a hassle. The time spent to do this reclaim is too much compared to the money that they can get in return. The larger the companies get, the more they do this exercise to get this money back. So there is money here to be picked up if you have the right solution to do it for you, so you don't have to find the receipts in your drawer and take copies and fill out an Excel sheet and send a form, all that.
It doesn't work. It's no point of doing this a manual way.
No,
I mean, for a small business, it's the money, it's just not worth it.
No.
But that's the thing, that if you have the system, then it's just easy. It's a press of a button.
Yeah, the trick here is to get it integrated with your normal travel expense system, because then when you're doing your travel expenses, that's exact the moment where you should pick up the data to do this reclaim, because you have the receipt, you know where you're going, you know what you're purchasing, so that's the spot, the time where you can collect the information, and then it's easy. That's the trick here.
Yeah, and yeah, so basically up to here we've discussed that. Do you know what money you owe? How much do you owe? And who is interested in knowing that? That is the investors, or they want to know so that they can give you money. The banks want to know so they can give you money. And if you have the system in place, you can actually get money back. Because as Karsten just said, like in general, it's like 17% in a medium you can get back from. So if you spend 100,000 euros a year on these types of expenses abroad, so not now, but in a month's time, we're starting to travel again, hopefully. Actually, we are already starting. Finnair is starting, and the first destination that Finnair opened from Helsinki was to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So I could come and see you, Karsten.
It's good.
Yes, so of these travels, so if you're spending 100,000 on air and train, hotels, restaurants, you could get 17,000 euros back. This is real money. You get it into your account. It's not money in your books or anything like that. It's money in your account. So now what do we spend time on? As we said, it's not a point of doing manually these VAT reclaims. It's just a hassle. So what do you spend time on? So we have another poll here, and Karsten's going to pull it up. So how much do you spend on your expenses every month?
Let me see if I can manage this technique. So please respond as...
It's a very scientific poll with not that much or way too much. So give it a go and see. What do you say yourself? Like, do you spend, it's okay, or I just spend way too much? I could be using my time so much smarter.
And please
click
on so it will get us as interesting as possible to look at. I think we've just passed half of the participants voting.
Come on.
Could we get a little more?
Be brave. Just click on something there. How do you feel?
Completely anonymous. So
it's completely anonymous, and it's very scientific, as you can see from this.
Okay, we'll end it here.
Yep.
And share the results. So
fair amount, too much, way too much. Yes, yeah. We are looking at, people find it's the pain, and I hear you guys. I hear you. So we actually have made this research study. It's actually almost 2 years old now, so the medium might be a bit better nowadays. But on the left-hand side there, you see 24 minutes. And Eurocard did a survey amongst 300, almost 400 companies of different sizes. So we had small, we had large. And in the middle, we have 24 minutes in medium people, on average, people spend on making an expense report. Now, this is from the start, where you start, when you use the card, you receive your receipt, and then you put it in your pocket. And then you go and make the report. The report is controlled, approved, it's controlled, and then it's booked. And then paid out. So this is the time. It's not just what you, Marie, does after her trip, but it's the whole process. So 24 minutes. Now, average one travel expense report contains about 4 to 6 items. What I pulled then from our transaction data, and I can't give you exact numbers, but we have over 30 million transactions on our corporate cards in Nordics every year. So we have a lot of data. I discovered that we have over almost 12% of all the transactions have a value of less than €5. Now that is almost as much as like a Starbucks coffee, or are they more expensive? I don't drink Starbucks, but and if you up that number to €10, so we have almost 25% of all transactions are of a lesser value than €10. Now imagine that you spend time on these, as much time on these as you do on the bigger ones. I would say that this is not time well spent. I mean, do you guys agree there on the other side of the screen? You can't answer me back unless you want to put it in the chat box. But I think personally that this is just ridiculous, that you shouldn't be spending your time controlling any expense which is, well, at least under €5. What do you say, Carsten?
Well, the thing where you can save here is that you can get this process automated. You can even have an approval automated, or very, very easy. The controlling shouldn't be that much, but you must book it still in the accounting system. Yeah. That's one thing you cannot avoid. So you need to save where you can, and that would be in how the employee can report this very easy, how the manager can approve this, or even maybe not approve it if it's too small to be looked at, and then processed on to the accounting team, and hopefully they can do it very quickly, but they must in the end book it in the accounting system. That's something where we cannot remove the task. We can make it easy, but we cannot remove it.
Exactly.
But it is a good discussion to have inside your organization is how should we how should our policies be on approving these small expenses? Should we approve each and every one? Should we do a list of them and take out some and look at those 30, or should we just make statistics and look at it that way instead of approving each and every one of them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unless you have the system, it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you do it on paper, then then the time and the clock is just ticking, because you need to copy that, you need to move it on, and you need to sign on it and everything. Yeah, so that makes it a hassle for that cup of coffee. One comment on the VAT. It's exactly the same on the VAT reclaim on the EU, that we have at least 20% of the amount you can reclaim is in these small receipts. So yes, it must be automated if you wanted to have that reclaimed. Otherwise, you'll just throw it out. So there is money down there in those small receipts as well.
Exactly. And this is what we are, our mantra is that we give you back your time. Your time is valuable, and you shouldn't be spending it on small amounts, which has to be processed, but you shouldn't do it on a manual thing. In our study that was made, it was actually not Eurocard, we didn't do it. It was Kungliga Tekniska Högskolan in Stockholm. So it was part of a thesis, a doctoral thesis. So this is not just us saying it. It actually is scientifically proven, this 24 minutes, that on average, we could save up to 16 minutes with having just that added bonus of actually being able to have the receipt combined with the transaction data into a system. So, and I can claim that you might be even able to save more. So imagine that you have 10 employees in your company. So 16 minutes sounds small, but then when you add them up, you get 32 hours, and that means 4 working days a year that you can actually focus on the more important stuff, to getting those investors, to getting those processes better. If you have 40 employees, which is quite like a normal in our small business segment, you get suddenly 16 days back. So now you're pressing on my computer.
Sorry, that was me. Yeah, sorry.
Don't worry. It's so funny when we can both control this. I'm learning new technology here. Yeah, so you can get 16 days back. Now, there are 21, 22 working days a month. So just do the math. It's almost a month's work. And if you go 60 employees, you have over a month's work savings. This is huge. So wouldn't you rather be using that time smarter things? So what can you do then? How can you yourself on the other side of the screen who's watching this live, or maybe have found that recording somewhere on the internet, what you can do is take back that control. You should, if you have people in your company who have company expenses, cannot stress this enough, you should definitely make sure that they have a company payment card. So that's rule number one. If it's invoiced to the company, or if you have what we call individual invoicing, so it goes to the card holder who pays for it and then claims it back, it doesn't really make a big difference, because control is all that you need to have. If you don't get the receipts from the people, you can't use it. You can't control it. You can't claim it. You can't do anything about that. So make this easy for you. Have company cards for all the people who have expenses, and set up a very easy expense management process. Don't make it too complicated. I just want to stress one thing. If you have the picture of a receipt, this goes for all the other countries except for Sweden. You do not need to combine that picture anymore with any bookkeeping. You don't have to do that. You have to keep the receipt for audit purposes, the picture of that receipt. So you don't have to, I get that question a lot. What about the picture? I can't stuff it into my bookkeeping system. You don't need to. You need to have the data from that receipt into the bookkeeping system, but not the picture.
No, we store the picture, and we have processes to help you out there. So we are in control for the audit and for the tax authorities if they want to look at that.
Absolutely.
And just a comment here, that the trick that we actually process is that we use the data from the payment to give to you, so you don't have to enter them anywhere. Right. And those are the data that we take on into your systems without any re-entering. And that's part of the time-saving trick here. Yeah. That we use the data that we have from the payment to do the expense management and to do the VAT reclaim.
Exactly. So take back your time. On top of those things that I mentioned, create policies for working smart. And what by this we mean, don't spend time controlling parking tickets, parking receipts less than €5. There's no value in that. And again, we can't contact you. We don't know who you are. So if you want us to contact you and help us out, help you out with stuff, then you go to expense manager at Eurocard . And then it's the country code. Or if you want to, you can in this chat bot here, chat box, just enter your email address, make it visible to just the panelists, then only we can see that then. And we can then email you with more information. But the thing is, this is the only marketing thing at the end. We can help you because, as Carsten said, to combine here Eurocard and this system, you will get back the control. We get the transaction data directly into this system. The card holder just uses their card, takes a picture, and that's it. Everything else is done in the portal. You can do bulk controlling. You can do approve everything under a certain value, and you just do it automatically. But we're not going to go through that now, because just one thing, we have a 6 months free of charge trial period on the expense manager right now. but the offer is ending soon, few weeks, and then we are going to start to charge it. So go to our site. It's a little hassle, but eurocard.com. On the right-hand side, you're going to see effective follow-up and expense manager, all in your own languages. You can change it on the right-hand side. And next webinar, we are going to do a live demo. So tune up, tune in, same time, but on a Tuesday. So in 2 weeks' time, Karsten is going to be talking more. I'm going to be asking questions that time, and he's going to go deep dive into the tool.
Yeah, we'll show how the product works. So we'll take expenses, demo how it is for the employee, for the manager, for the accounting. We'll even move it into the accounting system, and so you see how does that work? How can you save this time and get in control?
Exactly. Do you want to be reminded of this webinar? Put your email in the chat box, or email me or the expense manager at eurocard.countrycode. Just email us, contact us, or otherwise we will be emailing and inviting you guys again. And this webinar is being recorded at the moment. I can see it saying recorded. We are going to put it up on our YouTube channels in the different countries, so there is a chance to look at us again and correct us if we were wrong. Did we say something that wasn't right? Well, do you agree? Do you disagree? Excellent. We're gonna I'm getting already email addresses here. Is there any questions out there?
Yeah, that was my, yeah.
And if you have any questions here, just put them in the chat box or comments or something else.
See, some have signed up for the next webinar. That's fine. Yeah. We'll talk to you again at that point.
Do we have any questions? Anybody wondering? We're crystal clear. Or do you disagree on everything we just said? If you do, please let us know, because this is our understanding. I have a Q&A here.
There is a question about the receipts, as we just talked about. Our auditor insists on this. Now I cannot see if this is what country this is from.
Probably Sweden.
Yeah, and it is correct that for now you must store the physical receipts in Sweden. In the other Nordic countries, it is not by law any longer that you must store the physical receipt. It is okay to have a digital store. What you must be able to do is you must be able to find the receipt, the picture of the receipt, so you can show it to both the auditor and the tax authorities. Yes, and then now I see that the question was from Sweden. So yes, you must. Unfortunately, because of the Swedish law, you must have both the picture receipt for the process of the expense, and then on top you must store the physical receipt on your archives. I think I've learned that this is under consideration of being changed, but as of now, to my knowledge, you must still store the physical receipt in Sweden.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is unfortunate that it is like this, but from a processing perspective, you still gain a ton of time by using a system, a automatic system, and especially for the VAT return, EU VAT return. So although in Sweden you have to store the paper or the receipt in the form they were given, yes.
The one advantage is that when you need to pass on the receipt for the approval and for the controlling, it doesn't have to be the physical receipt. That can be just the picture receipt, and then you store the physical receipt in your central archives. But that's unfortunately still necessary. Yes.
Yes, and we're gonna go through this in the live demo even more. But I stress this even one more time here.
Yeah.
That the controller will look at the receipt in the portal in the system, and he will look at whatever he needs to look at to say, yes, this is actually a receipt from a restaurant, and and then this digital copy will be stored in a place, both in our portal, and you're gonna have to store it in your own servers. But then you don't need to connect that receipt anymore, that picture, anything with your invoice or like that. So
we've had two other questions here. One is how the picture is connected with the transaction, and that's actually happening in the app that we haven't talked about, but we'll show next time. So instant after the payment, the transaction is in the app, and the employee just takes a picture of the receipt, and it is automatically connected with the transaction. So that's very, very easy to get those two together. So now the picture and the data transactions, they are connected. And the final question I just received is the integration to the economic system. And yes, we do have an integration to many economic systems, accounting systems, sorry. And those that we don't have an API connection to, we do have what we call CSV connection, file connection. I will show you thoroughly in the next webinar in end of June how this works. It is actually quite easy to get the transaction from our system into the accounting system without re-entering any data. That's what we want, that you don't have to re-enter any data at all. So it's definitely possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? We are running on the last minutes. Yeah. No comments on us being wrong about things. That's very good. So good. Okay. Yes, yeah. So next webinar, deep dive into the tool that will help you with these issues. So if you still have time to shoot off your email in the chat, or if not, then you just go to expense manager at Eurocard and then country code. So .SEFIDKNO.